Okay, Sarah, I'm looking at this. Let's see. That looks good. Yeah, pixel's right. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Okay, Paula, sure. Okay, case area is not solemn. We don't say no solemn in English. We say not solemn, N-O-T. Okay, so we need to have one that's typography. One of your posters needs to be typography, meaning it's constructed of type. Paula sure was all about type. We need to have one that's a visual experiment, one that's a collage. So maybe that's what you're doing with your sketches. I see some very interesting things in what you're doing. Get serious, not solemn. If you choose, for example, to do this, what you did in poster sketch number 6 here, you could say get serious, not solemn in these triangular shapes, and then put polisher in the small type, because this is so distinctive that people know automatically. Most people know, oh, that's polisher, that's her style. I would watch out for PS, because in English that means postscript. It means a little note you add at the end of a letter that you write. And it doesn't mean polisher, it means postscript. So you might want to avoid saying PS. Again, that's interesting. I love what you've done here, not least because it has a nice negative space right here. This is what we want. You don't want to cram everything full of type. Even polisher didn't always cram everything full of type. Where she did, maybe the negative area had teeny type, so it still functioned as negative space. And the nice, I don't know about a grid and a this thing. You might just need to get into the computer and experiment with your typography to see. I think this is cool. I don't know that it says polisher. I don't know exactly what you're planning to do with that. But it is interesting. It looks kind of dull. You would need to brighten it up in Photoshop. I love this. I love the bicycle gears. I don't know what they mean. I do think the bricks in this grid here are very plain. And that is something, if Polisher used it, she would twist it up and break it up and put it in an angle and do unexpected things. She wouldn't just put them there. So think about breaking things up a little bit. Love the contrail heading down. That's cool. I'm sorry this is out of focus. I'm not sure about the trees. Again, if you're going to do something ordinary, think about how would Polisher handle trees. Would she turn them blue? Would she cut them up into little leaf shapes and make a collage that way? I would experiment with that more. Love this. Everybody loves clouds and rays, but the connotations here are religion, faith, revelation and stuff, and that might not be what you want to convey with Polisher. The bricks are interesting, but again, the grid pattern is a little too regular. It would be neat if you come way up tight with your camera, like get your camera 10 centimeters away from that wall, and then angle it, and do something interesting with those bricks. That might be kind of cool. Okay, and I'll come back and read that. Aaron. There we go. Okay, we'll go back. Okay. Good job with this. Pixels, good, good, good. Watch out for corners and stuff like this when you do Photoshop exercises. These are fun. Life sideways, love that tagline, that's fun. I like what you're doing here with typography. I love how you're turning the whole type on its side. But the people who hang your posters, even though this will never be produced, be thinking about this. All they're going to do is rotate this poster or this poster 90 degrees counterclockwise and hang it up as a horizontal. You have to figure out how you're going to present that and prevent that. One option would be all these words looking at live, and I kind of like how the little at sign for at live, they're all starting at the top and running down. What if sideways started at the bottom and ran up? Or looking at life and then vertical or horizontal and then sideways ran up. And you got crayons and different things. And I think, let's see. Oh, what I said about this is that you don't need 3 things. You don't need a flower and a butterfly and a froggy. You could say life with just a flower, right? Seed, sprout, flower, or egg, tadpole, froggy. One of those things would be sufficient, I think. The little baby, life. Yeah, but this has such powerful emotional connotations that people would look at it and say, oh, baby. They wouldn't think of your artist at all. Okay, I love what you're doing here. I love the experimentation with crayons and color. If you're going to shoot indoors, get next to a window, right next to a window with lots of natural light pouring in, but not direct sunlight, and shoot that way. Shooting under natural, artificial light, unless you're using flash, generally doesn't turn out very well. The ransom type is okay, but it's very much of a cliche, and so you got to be careful what your cliches are saying. Are you saying that I can't remember who your artist is a gangster? He's got a ransom note here. I'm cutting out random letters from a magazine and pasting them. I would also be very, very cautious about stacking type like this. Because we don't read it sideways, we read it as stacked. And unless you really know what you're doing, it looks amateur. This is something that I talked about in type crimes. Again, you can break the crime, if you can break the rule if you know what you're doing. And I don't know. I would maybe steer clear of that. With this one, I really liked the concept. This is an apple, this is an orange. I really like that. I like the balance of the rocks, but I think if you do something like that, you should actually stack up the rocks outside. And it might take you a long time to get them all stacked perfectly, and then puff of wind or a child comes by and they all tumble over. But the wonder of stacked rocks is a riveting image. There's nothing balanced about putting rocks on a paper on a table. So anyway, there's an idea there. I don't get this. If you have a great concept for it, great, but your client, if you do something like this, he'll immediately say no because it's a copyright violation. You're using someone else's logo to advertise your event, and besides that, the AF gets lost. But again, I like what you're doing here. This is really hard to read. You got little teeny spots of letters on little teeny spots. And you can't, if you're going to do something like this, you got to make sure it's immediately visible. I looked at this and thought the word said cantaloupe, and the word said pineapple, and the word said orange. That's immediately what I think. And I have to sit there and squint at it before I realize, oh, melon. Oh, orange. Oh, that's fun. But your audience won't do that. You got 2 seconds to grab them. So if you want to do something like this, great. But make it a quick read. Quick and unexpected. That's really going to help your concept. And I'll come back and look at that. Yay, you. That's right. Siobhan. Siobhan, it looks like you didn't finish this, which is sad. Okay, you started all this, and there's some really beautiful things that are going on. You did a good job on your exercises, except for that one. Okay, but I wanted to see your sketches and see your thinking for this. Tommy. Okay, you got some cool things going on with Gropius. So your exercises look good, your pixel definition, yeah, that's all good. Some really cool things going on here. User perspective and architecture, okay? That's what you're doing. So you got some great things going on. I liked this that I saw. I like that it connotes architecture without being blindingly obvious. This is architecture. They feel like elements of a room, of a model, of a plan, without really being blindingly obvious. I liked how you were doing like this. I love. That's great composition there. This is cool. It's Gropius. It's obviously a building, or this one, I think. But if you do something like this, don't be obvious. Change it somehow. Like doing a gray building or a white building in shadow with a yellow sun and an orange sunset. Blah. Change the whole thing to dark blue or something, and then put blindingly yellow type on top of it. Walter Gropius, whatever. Or turn it upside down, or turn it sideways, or turn this into something else, the building that becomes a gun. Or do something unexpected. Don't just show me a building and put Gropius on it. Even though that's cool, do something unexpected. Move away from the obvious. That's why this is strong. This is kind of cool too. That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, type. This is really cool. All that negative space. That's kind of neat. I love the great big face. And something like this might be enough. Well, all this negative space, it's obviously a face, it's obviously Bauhaus, and it's obviously cool. You put the type in there, Gropius, you know, it had to be at the same angle. Then the MoMA logo and your subtype, teeny, wonderful. That would be great. If you do something like this, again, turn that picture upside down and put the window at the top with Gropius in it. Don't, here's a picture of a building and it's Bauhaus and blah, blah, blah. Break the unexpected, the expected. Do something different. I like a little mousy here. I don't know why it says Corbin. This is kind of fun. That's really cool. Gropey. I love that. That's cool. Yeah. How are you going to do something like this and get the SF MoMA logo in there in the subtype and your theme without ruining the beauty of this? That's kind of neat. That G looks funny. Quick finish. Okay, and I'll come back and read that. Leslie. Let's see. Okay. Good. That's right. Good. Good. Urban simplicity. So yours, I think, went off the rails a little bit because we moved away from the flat and we moved away from urban. You've got some great ideas in your sketches. They're a little hard to see. I like what that's doing. You moved into something that says simplicity. And I love the fact that simplicity said urban and simplicity. In fact, the type here looks really great. I love that. But you don't need the word urban. Okay, what if you rendered simply in that same typeface and got rid of urban because urban and city is redundant? Love this. LO4S. This makes me say, what is LO4S? I don't know what that is. This is fun too, but again, urban on top of these guys just get lost. And I always wonder when people use the tiles from Scrabble, are you playing a game? I don't know. I don't know. But I like how they kind of jiggle up and down. And if you get rid of the word urban here, then you have all this nice negative space and you say in the word simplicity, your color here needs to be tweaked in Photoshop. But I can show you how to do that. Make it more bright, more, not so much like it was shot under an incandescent light in your apartment. Love this. Love how you got the negative space going on here. And I wish urban simplicity, if that's your tagline, I wish it were at the same angle. Or maybe it goes up this way, gets smaller. That's cool. This is nice, but you got to use the real SF MoMA logo. Okay, I don't care if you do this as well, but it's probably redundant. This is kind of cool as it is, where you're at the angle and I got this blank paper. I think that's cool. Again, here you got urban simplicity. This is really cool. Where you're showing a city, that's kind of cool. I like the grittiness of this. It maybe isn't quite gritty enough. It isn't quite decayed enough. That's a little too expected. Even though it's nice. I'd turn that whole thing upside down or invert the colors. Susan? Susan, you got some great things going on here. That's good. Pixel. That's good. That's good. That's good. So I'm running out of time on this recording. You got some great things going on. I loved the type here. Stuff crossed out, stuff underlined, all handwritten. I love how you got the subtype going on top of the image. The only problem here is that this is as important as this. And somehow you got to make sure they're not fighting each other. Look at me, no look at me, no look at me, look at me. You got to have to make them harmonize. How are you going to do that? But if I were you, I'd use this typography as is. I would take a high-res scan of that and convert it to a grayscale in Photoshop and just turn it on multiply and overlay it. That looks so great just as is. This is neat too. It's a great composition, the squares with this thing, but it's so expected. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. It's a nice composition. All the handwritten signatures here. Why don't you take this picture and turn it upside down? Do something slightly unexpected. Set up a pattern and break it. And this is terrific. I really like what you did here. Designed by Charles Eames, engrossing. Yeah, that's all really neat. Where are you going to put the SF MoMA logo in your subtype, though? You don't want them to interrupt with what this thing is doing. Okay, I'll come back and read that. So nice work, you guys.